Dave Hughes in the Element Wealth studios, and joining us now on the air and on SuperTalk TV, we have the host of Fox News Saturday Night with Jimmy Failla, which kind of gives away the name. It's no sense in building it up any further than that. It's Jimmy Failla. How you doing, man?
My man, hello from Fox News headquarters in New York City, Gerard. This is a big deal for me. I'm a fan.
Well, let me ask you something. In New York, can you feel the energy there? I realize the convention's in Milwaukee, but it just seems like the energy from the convention is kind of spreading across the country.
Yes, and I'm in, as you know, this is a very liberal town. But after watching
That's an
last
understatement.
Yep, right? But yeah, New York is so liberal, they wanted to defund the cop and the village people. I mean, it's out of control. But I would say after the past week's events, you know, whether you watch Biden at the NAACP or you watch the whole Zelensky-Putin thing, every Democrat in America, whether they're admitting it or not, wants Joe Biden to step aside for somebody younger like Moses. Okay, that's where we are. And I think a change is coming. I believe you mentioned in the prior break that they're postponing that virtual roll call. Which means they're giving themselves a longer ramp to get rid of them.
Right, exactly. Well, they're wanting to do away with it completely. They have moved it back. They had said yesterday they were going to do it as early as Sunday. Now they're saying somewhere between August 1st and 7th. So it just keeps sliding back further and further because there's a lot of unrest, and part of that is because new polling that is out. They tested other candidates in polling, other Democratic candidates. All of them did better than Biden.
Yeah,
the whole list.
Yeah, I mean, that's no achievement, though. Joe Biden is polling behind ISIS at this point. But that's the problem they have. I think the elites who run the party, who did, for all intents and purposes, kind of rigged their primary by not allowing them to have one. They didn't give RFK a voice. Not that Marianne Williamson was going anywhere. She's a moonbat. But they didn't allow her to adequately primary Biden. There were no debates because the elites moved up South Carolina in the vote and tried to consolidate power. And as you know, this roll call was a way to cement his status on the ballot because what Biden represents to the unelected bureaucrats in Washington is he is essentially allowing like 40 other people presidential powers. He's like the fake ID that has allowed like multiple generations of your family to get into college bars. You've never even met this man, but you used it to get into your first bar. Your little brother used it to get into his first bar. That's what he is. And the reality now is that this internal polling data, because their internal polling data is as bad as what we're talking about, has gotten the elites to recognize that, you know, there's no power for them if they don't win the election at all. So I think they're going to yank him off the ticket. I actually think that's where this is headed.
Well, I do, too. I don't think it will publicly present that way, though. If they can work out some kind of deal, they're going to allow him to gracefully step down for the betterment of America to boost the Democratic, brand, if you will. But, yeah, I think you're right.
One correction, though. He has never gracefully stepped anywhere.
Fair point. Very fair point. I keep waiting for a somersault any day, not intentionally. But any day, he could just go rolling down the sidewalk. You know, that's the feeling that you get when you watch him move around. It's going to be interesting to watch this play out over the next 2 weeks, I would say. I would say this. If we make it to the convention or we make it to a point to where Biden is certified and he is officially the nominee, unless he passes away, I don't see a chance for Trump to lose at that point.
Yeah, and he'll live through the election, assuming he doesn't have a rally in Butler County, Pennsylvania, with sloped roofs.
Well, slopes. That's what you got to look out for is the slopes.
Dude, I'm in New York. They just canceled Fiddler on the Roof tonight because it's a sloped roof. The Fiddler can't,
look, when I went to bed last night, I got down and checked under my bed to make sure the floor was level because I was terrified.
But like when you hear that, Gerard, okay, the good instincts in all of us don't want to believe that the Secret Service was lax in protecting him or, heaven forbid, had a motive not to protect him adequately. But what other explanation is there for this if they literally left the most vulnerable position unchecked? Like, I have a 15-year-old son. Imagine I'm going away this weekend and I've locked up everything but the liquor cabinet. Okay? That's not good parenting by me. Okay? And it's not good parenting by Kim Cheadle, who's a fraud, and she should have been fired on the spot. And that's the one thing, okay, that Trump does represent to America that you don't get under Biden, is you get private sector accountability. In the private sector, the CEO doesn't want to own everyone else's failures because it paints him with that brush. And in the private sector, she would get fired. Biden's doing this other thing where they try to sell failure as success. They didn't fire generals after Afghanistan. The fact that Mayorkas continues to tell you the border's closed as 10 million people have come in. Don't you hate when you go to the store and they're like, sorry, we closed at 10. We can only let in 10 million people from here. Nuts.
Yeah, when our security, when our entrance requirements are more lax than Walmart at closing time, it's not a good sign. You've got a great point there. I hadn't even thought about that, but that is a very good comparison. The thing is, you're exactly right, and President Trump even brought that up during the debate, said he hadn't fired anybody. Who's he ever fired? He's never fired anybody. That is a part of the process.
Yes. If they didn't fire the White House drug maker after that debate, nobody's getting fired. Nobody.
Well, if they had checked to see if Hunter had left anything in the guest room at the White House before they went over there, it might have had a different outcome. But you know how that works. Real quick, let me get your take on the convention. How do you think it's going, and what do you expect tonight from J.D. Vance?
J.D. Vance is good, man. I've interviewed him a few times, and he, of course, his whole biography is about growing up in the Rust Belt and the challenges facing Middle America in this moment. And that's the biggest thing he has going for him is relatability, because he's speaking. You remember the whole Bill Clinton, I feel your pain? I mean, to be clear, Bill Clinton felt lots of things on people, but just to be here, okay, J.D. Vance is relatable in the sense that he's addressing their struggle. What the Democrats are doing is telling people the economy's fine, you have a messaging problem. The gas prices are under control, it's just bad messaging. And that's like a real indifference to suffering. So I actually think this is going to be a much better night for him than the Democrats realize. And I think if he has that kind of a night, it'll speed the plow on getting Biden off the ticket, because the Democrats don't want to just lay here and take it from now to November. And there's a consequence down ballot if they do. So I expect tonight to kind of speed that plow, and I think this is the end of Biden.
Now, having said all of that, and I tend to agree with you, but having said all that, if he and the people that are helping him make the decisions, they get all 72 of them in a room together, and they all decide, no, we like this. We enjoy being president without anybody knowing it, and they go ahead and push ahead, and they lock him in, which is, there's a non-zero chance of that, let's be honest. If they do that, what do you think the odds are that we have a Republican president, House, and Senate come January?
If he stays on the ticket, I think you've got like a 90% chance, because the down ballot casualties are going to be massive. I mean, when you look at the states he's losing, I mean, like Virginia is in play right now. Minnesota is in play right now. Okay, and that's not normal. And the down ticket drag is huge. So I actually think, the best thing that can happen for Trump is Biden stays on the ticket. But I'm legitimately new enough to media that I care what happens to the country. I'm not out buying speedboats and, doing all that stuff. I don't want Biden to be president for, another half hour. I mean, honestly. And that's my biggest concern in this moment. I think he's coming off the ticket. My question is, what do we do between now and then? Because every time he gets out there to tell you there's no glitch, he glitches out. Okay, the Lester Holt thing was a farce. The NAACP thing is a farce. And so, I think he's gone. I just think what they're doing is they're negotiating the exit strategy, meaning those bureaucrats you referenced, they want something in return for getting him off the ticket. They want an assurance that we're going to, expand something, some type of climate effort or whatever. And I think obviously the Bidens are going to want money to step aside, because they've been a shakedown enterprise for as long as they've been in politics. So I think what's going to happen is I think Disney is going to offer Biden the lead in the sequel to Frozen, and he'll just glitch out on camera.
That's almost typecasting at this point, Jimmy.
Let it go, Gerard.
He cannot let it go. That's the biggest problem we're facing. Can you? We're up against a break. Can you hang on for a couple of minutes?
Of course.
Jimmy Failla with Fox News, bringing the analysis as only he can. We're desperately working to get him up to speedboat level, and we'll continue that journey together when we come back live in the Element Wealth Studios on Middays. Keep it here. Middays live in the Element Wealth Studios. Dave Hughes here. And joining us, the host of Fox News Saturday Night with Jimmy Failla and Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla, as you would expect. It's Jimmy Failla. How you doing? Welcome back. Glad you could stick around. We've got the J.D. Vance speech tonight, but the big show is tomorrow night.
Yes.
And I think the only question that should be in anyone's mind at this point is, when President Trump walks up to give his speech tomorrow night, will there be any windows left unshattered from the noise over in the Fiserv Arena?
No, they are amped up. And by the way, the fact, Dave, that you bumped in on a Tom Petty song brings me to a personal anecdote involving myself and Donald Trump. Did you know that Trump almost got me sued by Tom Petty's estate like 2 weeks ago? This is a real story.
No.
I wrote a song parody of Free Fallin' by Tom Petty in honor of Joe Biden called Keeps Fallin'. I will send it to you off the air.
Please do.
We made a video for Fox News Saturday Night. Trump posted it on Instagram. It got 10 million views in 2 hours. And in the third hour, it got me a letter from the Tom Petty estate being like, take it down, fatso. But we had a good run for 2 hours. For 2 hours, we were there. And we took it down. We played ball. But Trump has posted 2 more of our videos. Last week, he posted a sleep aid we made. It's called Bidenica. And it's made up of Joe Biden press conferences. You'd get a kick out of it. And he's been posting it. He's been pretty supportive of our show. And as someone who's like sort of tapped into his world and his aura and the aftermath of Saturday, the point you made earlier, they're going to probably applaud him when he takes the stage for 10 minutes. Seriously, I know that sounds like a lot, but I don't think he's getting a word in for 10 minutes because people in that crowd, obviously he represented everything in the world to them going into this in the sense that he's their voice, but now we have this near-death experience. And yes, it's going to be intense. Like, it'll be loud enough that it might wake up Biden.
No, let's not go crazy here. Come on. Come on. If he does, I assume that the current president has the opposite of night terrors when he wakes up in the middle of the night. You know, you can have a sleep paralysis demon. It's like the Sandman standing at the end of the bed when he wakes up going, I mean, there's nothing there, it doesn't seem like. And he keeps illustrating that point because the worst idea in history that has ever been had was, well, everybody thinks that I'm slipping mentally and I'm a low energy candidate, so I'm going to put it out there more to prove I'm wrong. Boy, that's working great.
Oh, man. And I love how he said at his press conference, he's like, I'm fine. It's just that my staff is putting too much on my schedule. And what did he say? I'll never fly through 15 time zones again before a debate. He was off a week before the debate. And as you know, he didn't fly through 15 time zones in coach on Spirit Air. He was in a bedroom with a personal chef sleeping for the entirety of the trip. So you're right. I mean, it's hard to take any of this serious at this point. And what's fascinating are the people that are still trying to stay the course. There's like 3 of them left. Like Joe Scarborough said today, he goes, people get mad at Biden because he mixes up names. I mix up names. Everybody mixes up names. Should we all quit our jobs? As if it's really just about mixing up names. Joe Biden is the only president who quits talking in the middle of a sentence because he's finished. Okay, you've seen it. He sends in the punt team on second down. He's also the first president to make the sign language interpreter shrug. Okay, this isn't about just names. But what Scarborough's doing is a Billy Madison. Do you remember in Billy Madison when a little kid pees his pants? Adam Sandler doesn't want him to be embarrassed. So he goes, you pee your pants? I pee my pants too. Peeing your pants is cool. That's what Joe Scarborough is doing for Joe Biden right now. Oh, you glitch out in public? I glitch out too. It's cool. That's what we're down to.
Well, my favorite part about Joe, I'm glad you brought him up because for those that missed it, Morning Joe did not air Monday morning. And I think we all know the reason why. You know, when you have a nuclear weapon, you don't want to press the button just because it's Monday. So they told them they were doing a live feed of NBC News special coverage. He then came on yesterday and said, well, they told us they were doing that for the whole day, but it turned out it was just for our show. And if they pull that kind of thing and fool us like that again, they can find new hosts. Okay, Joe. Thank you for admitting publicly that you're that easy to fool, which then makes us look at everything else that you're saying. But I don't think he realizes that.
No, that's what the kids call a self-own. And knowing MSNBC and knowing Scarborough, they probably, I'm not kidding, they probably approved that comment before he went on the air because he's not the tough guy he says he is. I know he obviously runs on that moral superiority. There's so many good clips of him. Like if you go back to Hunter Biden lecturing us, like you people who believe the laptop will be regarded as idiots and useful fools for the Russians. But do you think he ever goes back and course corrects and goes, hey, I got that one wrong? Of course not. We play a clip on my show. It's from literally the week before the debate where he goes, this is the sharpest Joe Biden we've ever seen. He's got the most mental acuity. He's got the most energy. I'm like, dude, he's shaking hands with a parking meter. Okay? I promise there was a sharper version of Biden. I'm not a Biden fan, but I promise you the band put out better albums in the 70s and the 80s than they're putting out now on the Ensure label.
The Ensure label. That's a good one. I like that one. It's one of those things that is going to eventually solve itself. But part of the problem is, and what you were talking about there with Joe, and we've seen this with plenty of other people, is explaining to everybody how stupid they are while they're being stupid. It's a classic psychological maneuver. It's projection. There's more projection going on than at a 20-screen movie theater with a Lord of the Rings marathon booked for the weekend. It's nonstop. And the problem is, it's not going to stop. So we have to just learn to deal with it, ignore it, go on, and take care of business like the adults in the room, because that's what we are at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only person who should be worried about a Joe Biden candidacy is Walter Mondale, because he might lose his record for the widest margin of defeat. That is the late Walter Mondale's claim to fame, and he may lose that in the record books come November.
Well, it was so funny because you mentioned one of the states that you mentioned that was in play now all of a sudden is Minnesota, which is true. Yeah. It's trending off in that direction. That is the only state Mondale won in '84. that was it. And it's wavering. So that tells you where we're at on this. It's not going to end prettily for the Democratic Party.
No, I think we all agree. Like Joe Biden at this point would make a good Walmart greeter if you didn't mind being welcome to Target. That's where we are.
7-Eleven. I'm going with 7-Eleven on that one. Target's too close to Walmart. Yeah. Welcome to 7-Eleven.
I've heard him describe January 6th as 7-Eleven, though. He screws up dates. Have you ever heard those clips where he says July the 6th or June the 8th? It's a disaster. As a comedian, we can like this stuff as commentators and have fun, but it actually kind of sucks because there's no shelf life for material because he's generating a new flub every 20 minutes. Every time they throw him inside of a microphone, you lose 5 minutes worth of material because you've got this new thing to cover. Think about this. We're a week removed, not even a week removed from him calling Zelensky Putin and saying he had a Vice President Trump. And it's not even being discussed most places in the media because he's already replaced that with more comments. That's where we are right now. It's bananas.
Jimmy, the scariest part about this entire thing is that we stand a very good chance, even if they manage to work out some kind of deal and get him off of the Democratic ticket, we still have over 6 months of him in the White House. And that is the worst bull on crack in a china shop situation I can think of. What's going to happen?
Listen, man. I think what they've got to do is they've got to protect him from obvious threats like a gust of wind. They could. I think the move here, honestly, Dave, is two guys who care. is they should tell him he won the election and has served out his second term. Good job. Thanks for coming. And just executive order him out of the office. He'll sign anything, because this whole presidency has been an iTunes user agreement. You know, when you want a new app in the Apple Store, so you just scroll to the bottom and click I agree to whatever that user agreement is? That's been this whole administration. It's been an executive order where they're like, hey, you want that pudding cup? Scroll to the bottom and click I agree. He's like, all right. He scrolls to the bottom, you kill the Keystone Energy Pipeline. You know, scrolls to the bottom, you kill the border. It's all been an executive order. So there's no way they can't fine print him out of here at this point.
You know, and you bring up a good point. I wonder what the odds are that Biden, it's never been invoked, but if they decide to use the 25th Amendment against him, he may sign off on it.
Yes, because he thinks the 25th Amendment is Christmas. He's like, oh, I love December 25th. I'll sign an amendment for this.
You get presents, the Easter Bunny comes, it's a great day. Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Failla with Fox News, enjoyed it. Just want to pass along from the C Spire text line, all sorts of people saying you were fantastic, saying that your tweets are the highlight of their day every day. So just keep up the good work, man. Keep up the good fight.
All right, tell them to come see me in Biloxi Friday night. We're at the IP Casino. You're all welcome to come.
Fantastic.